Hi, and welcome to another episode of Bragging Rights. This week, I'm joined by Travis Weyforth. He was on the ETC team last year and the year before, playing Skaven and Demons respectively. Can you give a little bit of a history of your time in the hobby?
I started playing when I was 11. Started towards the tail end of Warhammer 5th edition. Played almost all of 6th edition, all through 7th, and obviously all through 8th. Like Matt said, I was on the USA ETC team the past 2 years. I played Demons and Skaven those 2 years. Very active on the Northeast Grand Tournament circuit. I think I've been to almost every one ever, except for this year's Crossroads I had to miss. But other than that, I think I've gone to every Indie GT in the Northeast since they started.
And placings wise, how have you done? I think you've got a few best generals.
Yeah, I got a few best generals. I got 4th at Colonial last year. Some top 10s and stuff.
All right.
No overalls, sadly.
Well, this week, since Travis is on the ETC team, we decided to try to play a game with some of the proposed ETC restrictions. We have not taken quite as hard of lists as we could have because, as usual, we're a little bit restricted by the models that I own. This week, I did let Travis borrow my Beastmen army. This army was commissioned and I use it as a Beastmen army, but it's almost all made up of War Games Factory Celt models. War Games Factory is a nice little company out of Cambridge, Massachusetts that has a lot of different ranges. They started out with just a few historical, and now they've got historical as well as fantasy and science fiction. They have some really cool kind of guardsman alternatives for 40K. And for fantasy, you can get a lot of mileage out of their Celts, their Numidian kit, or their Amazons. I was thinking of doing an Amazon elf army, counts as, of course. For this army, I've used their basic Celt kit. I've also got a lot of their cavalry, which I'm using as Senegors. Of course, we didn't field them today because we did want to have competitive lists. And I'm also using some of their chariots. I would definitely highly recommend them, and I definitely check out their website. They have a lot of stuff. I'm sure there's something that anybody could use. Check them out at War Games Factory.
Yeah, they're fantastic models.
So, what's in your list, Travis?
Well, let's start here with the core. For my core, my 2 main blocks are seen here. We have a unit of 39 Ungors with extra hand weapons and full command. Plan on running those in horde formation, putting out 40 attacks each. Hopefully we willing to hit every round with Primal Fury. And with some magical support, they have potential to be a real heavy damage dealer. In the back there, you can see my bunker unit of 25 Ungors with hand weapon shield. They're just there to hold the mages. I put enough models in the unit to hopefully, be steadfast against anything that might get back to them and not have to worry about breaking or taking a random panic check from a little bit of shooting on them.
And you'll notice here for the paint jobs that the gores are differentiated from the ungores by the blue war paint, which I thought looked really great.
Also for core, you can see here I have 3 Tuskor chariots. These are great for their points. I mean, they have potential to hit so hard and really swing combat in your favor, whether it's in the flank or the front even of a combo charge or something. I also took 5 Chaos Warhounds, pretty much because I had 30 points left and was running out of models that Matt had left.
Yeah, these are Chronopia figures. It's a game I got into before I started playing Warhammer, and also some of the heroes you might notice are Chronopia figures.
Yeah, they're just there. 30 points. It's hard to go wrong.
Yeah, a lot of people say that you can go wrong with hounds, though, because of the fact that they cause panic, unfortunately.
Well, as you'll see soon, my list has 1,000 things that can cause panic.
True,
so
true.
Might as well, you could just panic something else if you're worried about that. In the back there, you see a unit of 5 Harpies. Unfortunately, Matt only had 1 unit. I would have definitely ran 3 if he had more. But I do have the 1 unit Did not take the scouting upgrade on him. I don't think it's worth the 3-point model. And they already move so fast.
Yeah, you see a lot of people run with that, and I questioned the last time I saw them in a tournament. One of, I think, Corey Reynolds' friends was running them, and I asked him about it, and he said, "How could you not take it?" And I had no argument for it.
How could you?
Yeah,
I
to
mean,
me it looked like something that you would never want.
The whole point of hobbies is to be cheap. Why would you want them to cost another 15
right.
points?
You're going to give up the points every time, and you can't charge on that first turn anyway.
Unless you go second.
True. I guess that's one argument of why to take them. So you get the first turn charge on War Machines.
It's one of those things that would punish a weaker player, maybe potentially, but you should probably be winning those matchups anyway. I don't think against a stronger player they're going to add any benefit to you. They're just going to be a hamper. So that's...
Yeah, I'm starting to get swayed over to the scouting side, though, because it is pretty hard to hide from 20mm skirmishers, because they can just deploy one wide. But I think we're getting a little too far off topic here.
I will save that for another day. Also back there's 3 single Razorgores. Those are phenomenal. They're just 55 points, amazing mage hunting capabilities with 4 strength 5 attacks, even strength 6 on the charge, and then 3 wounds toughness 5 is hard to kill. Great redirecting, movement 7, single model, so you get free pivots. Definitely a core to any Beastmen list I ever make.
Yeah, terrible leadership, unfortunately.
Like I said, don't take panic checks. Don't worry about it. Over here, you can see my Herdstone. Get more to that later, but you can see it there. It looks like Pride Rock from The Lion King. In the front there, you can see a unit of 3 Minotaurs. This unit is probably not the most effective choice I could have had, but as you will see, there was a certain cool factor I wanted in this. Particularly because I took the champion with the Stone Spite, which is a bounce spell magic item that every arcane item within 18 inches, friend or foe, is immediately destroyed, and the bearer takes d6 strength 4 hits. Probably my favorite magic item in Warhammer. I always want to try to make it work. The only problem is it affects your own arcane items too, and Beastmen usually have a lot of mages, so one of the only ways I found that you're able to make it work is put it on a Minotaur champion, because hopefully he'll be far enough away from your mages, he can run up 12 the first turn when your mage is back and blow it up.
Yeah, I always love that item too.
Pretty much this unit's mostly there so I can do that. They're not terribly ineffective either, but that's the main goal for them. Behind them you'll see a unit of 33 Bestigors with the +1 leadership banner. +1 leadership's just there so that they can hopefully get pass their Primal Fury checks every turn and be getting those rerolls to hit with strength 6 and just destroying everything. And here you can see my characters. Going from left to right, you'll see I have 3 level 2 mages with Lord Beast. The magic items between those 3 are the Herdstone, Dispel Scroll, and Magic Resistance 3. The reasoning behind that, obviously the Herdstone's there to give +3 power dice so that my magic phase is superior in every way. Dispel Scroll, don't want to need to explain that one.
Yeah.
And the Magic Resist 3, I knew Matt would be playing new vampires, figured death magic was a high possibility, so wanted some protection against those sniper spells. And the Lord Beast is there, mainly playing is just a spam Wish and Wild form, and it's only needs a 9 to cast on Beastmen units. +1 strength, +1 toughness. It's stackable. You can give it to the same unit twice, and it'll be +2 strength, +2 toughness. It's really just a safe all-around spell. Definitely complements the Beastmen army well. Next to them, you'll see my Doom Bull General. He has the Ramhorn Helm, Dawnstone, Crown of Command, and the Gnarled Skin Beastman Chaos. Gnarled Hide Beastman Chaos item. Basically what all that does is it gives him a 1+ rerollable armor save, that every time he makes an armor save, he immediately gets to make another attack at his basic strength. So the idea there is put them into something like ghouls, they'll be getting wounded on them via poison or just a million attack. I'll be obviously making the saves no problem with the 1+ rerollable, and then I just get more attacks every time it happens. So, and then I'm stubborn, so I can hold up any unit I fight. And then on the far right there is my battle standard bear. He has a 5+ ward save and the blackened plate, which is a heavy armor that gives him a 2+ ward versus flaming, and his unit a 4+ ward versus flaming. He's mainly there to go in the gore unit and just, you know, provide leadership rerolls to everything, and also give that gore unit leadership 8, and hopefully live.
Yeah, this is a pretty strong character setup, although you see more often the Beast Banner, don't you, on the BSB?
Well, the thing about the Beast Banner is, if you take the Beast Banner, you still are allowed to take the gnarled hide, because it's a gift of chaos or whatever, so you can still get your BSB a 1+ save.
Yeah.
But because I took the Minotaur Lord, I can't take the gnarled hide. You can't duplicate it.
Gotcha.
So that's the reasoning for that. And like I said, the Doom Bull Minotaurs, maybe not the greatest thing, certainly not bad. And we'll see how it works out. It definitely has potential.
Cool. I want to just take this moment to talk a little bit more about the miniatures. As I'm looking through these pictures again, I'm remembering how much I love this army. The wizard with the scimitar and the big huge horn rack on top of his head, he's actually another one of the War Games Factory models. He's one of their metal heroes, and I love that model. I wish they had a few more poses for it. For my other heroes, I went with Chronopia figures for the Minotaur, the BSB, and the guy with the wide horn rack. And then I took a Truthsayer from actually GW for my other level 2. That's a really cool model. I also have a paired set of Fen Beasts that go with this army that act as spawn, and the Albion Giant that acts as a Cygor. And I kind of put this whole theme as an Albion theme for GW, and I also plan to use it for WAB 2.0 if I ever actually find someone to play with. It's pretty rare to find someone nowadays that plays Warhammer Ancients. I guess the 2nd edition rule set did not attract a lot of followers like I and other people expected it to. Alright, well, for my army, you may have noticed that Travis's army looked a pretty fair margin large for a standard tournament army, and that's because he had 2,600 points to work with. On top of that, when we do victory points, the victory points I score will be multiplied by 90%, because that's another part of the ETC restrictions. That kind of gives Beastmen and some other weaker army lists a boost. I'm working with 2,400, and to start out, I picked 6 dire wolves that are just basically to get in the way if I need them, or to send their strength 4 attacks against something weak like harpies, or maybe even a Tuskor if I can get a side charge on him. I also had a unit of 39 ghouls with a champion. This is a unit that you just saw everywhere through the last book, and now a lot of people are talking about getting rid of them. But at 10 points, it still feels like a steal to me. Travis, do you think that they're still worth it, or do you think people are going to start taking skeletons? Or
I'll answer that with both. I think people will take skeletons. I don't think they should. I think ghouls are still amazing for 10 points. They still have tremendous combat potential with 2 strength, 3 poison attacks each. And I mean, skeletons, what do skeletons do that zombies don't do better?
Well, with the
The
skeletons, there's the argument that you can raise them back very quick, much like you can with zombies.
Do it better.
True, but with the skeletons, you do have a 6-up parry, and you also have the option of a champion. Champion's actually pretty handy. But yeah, I agree. Ghouls are probably the better choice. So
the way I look at it, most VC lists, and the way I would do it is I'd take a horde of ghouls and fill the rest of the points, the core points with zombies and wolves.
Well, I took a zombie bunker.
Good choice.
Yeah, this is just a place for me to put my level 1 and my level 3 necros. I also took a nice little smattering of redirectors. I have 3x2 fell bats, which I think are an absolute steal. These are great models to have in any army. I contemplated having 2 3-man units, but in the end I went with 3 2-mans. I'm not sure. I think I might switch back to the 3-mans. We'll see. I should play a few more games. I also took 2 spirit hosts. I did not take the full amount of ethereal, basically just because I was having trouble fitting my whole army in 2400. If I was looking for a really bomb army, I think I'd go with the full 4 ethereal units. You also see in the background there a Terrorgeist that is a zombie dragon model. Actually, it's not even a zombie dragon model. I think that's the Dark of Black dragon.
I believe
And
so.
yeah, it had a lord on it when we bought the army, and I just ripped him off and put him on this large movement tray for now. Eventually he's going to get a nice textured base like the rest of the army. But I was a little excited to get this on the tabletop, even though it's not quite ready for action and photographs. For the bulk of my army, the big points, I went with a large Black Knight bus. You can see in here there's 2 Chaos models. The one with the banner is a White King, and the other one is a Vampire, level 1. I took the Banner of Swiftness on here instead of the Banner of the Barrows, mostly just because of points considerations, because I was scaling a 2,500 point list down to 2,400 to follow the ETC restrictions. The BSB has on him the Trickster Shard, which isn't going to do much against an army like Travis's, which has no ward saves. And my level 1 is Lord Death, because he plans to cast Spirit Leech in a unit with my Leadership 10 Vampire Lord. And he's got a 1-up armor save. For the rest of my character loadout, I have a Karn Wraith with no upgrades, and a Vampire Lord on Steed, who's got a 1-up, and more importantly, he has Always Strikes First, and Red Fury, and the I think it's Scrab, whatever it's called. It's the thing that does a Terrorgeist Scream. It gives you 2 extra attacks on the charge, 1 the rest of the time because it gives you Frenzy. And if you don't kill a model, by the end of the game you're removed as a casualty, but the chances of not killing a model with this guy, if you haven't killed a model with this guy, you're going to lose the game anyway, so it doesn't matter. This was just another way to get a Scream in my list, and it's a little better than a Banshee Scream, although not a huge amount. In the background there you see my level 3 Death, who has absolutely no upgrades. He's got a scroll clutched in his hands. And then I have a level 1 Vamp guy with the Rod of Fiery Death, or
Flaming Death.
Rod of Flaming Death. It's a really cool spell. It's D6 Strength 4s on the unit, and if the unit moves for any reason on the next turn, every single model takes another Strength 4. I love offensive spells like that that'll affect every model, because it really punishes people who have large blocks like that big block of ghouls. Alright, well, on to spells.
Spell selection here, not too surprising here. All my mages took the default Whistled Wild form, and between the 3 of them I also got Flock of Doom, Amber Spear, and Transformation of Kadan. Hopefully I can get a nice Amber spear off on that Terrorgeist early and put a lot of wounds on it so its Scream is much less threatening. Maybe even a Flock of Doom to finish it off or something. And Transformation of Kadan, if I find myself in a bad spot, chuck 6 dice at that and hope for the best.
So the spell that you passed on taking was a Curse of Anrahir?
Yes.
You just didn't think it was going to be worth it?
More or less, yeah. Really, if I'm in, I mean, that's pretty much a combat spell. At least versus your list, it pretty much only is a combat spell. Obviously, it works against shooting too, which you don't have any ballistical shooting. And if I'm in combat, rather than have you -1 to hit, I'd rather make myself +1 strength and +1 toughness. And I have 3 versions of that, so I didn't feel like I needed another combat buff / debuff.
Yeah.
And this way I had more spells to cast. Like first turn Wild Form's not very good, but Amber Spear and Flock of Doom much more useful.
Well, for my spells, I took Spirit Leech on my level 1 Vamp, who's going to be sitting in a unit with my Vampire Lord, so he's going to be Leadership 10, which is the best kind of Spirit Leech there is. I had Invocation on my little level 1 Vamp who had the Rod of Fiery Death, and I had Raise Dead on my Lord. I took Raise Dead instead of Invocation because I was thinking to myself that if I ever got engaged and stuck in with those knights, it could be pretty bad if I got hit on the flank by something like the Minotaurs. In retrospect, kind of wish I would have just taken Invocation on him because it helps keep him protected by giving back that wound and stuff like that. Now, on the level 3 Death, I took Doom and Darkness, Aspect of the Dread Knight, and another copy of Spirit Leech. Doom and Darkness, always good. One of my favorite spells in the game. I can't think of really any matchup where you can't find some use other than the Undead matchup.
Which luckily for you did
Yeah.
face.
I should also note that my level 1 Vampire with the Spirit Leech, he actually has the Aura of Dark Majesty, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It's -1 leadership to anyone who's in a 6-inch bubble to him. And I love leadership modification. I run it all the time in Demons. I just really like it. Okay, for the table, we have mostly Gale Force 9 terrain. We've got 2 hills. We have a piece of dangerous terrain that was made by Pegasus, and 2 Gale Force 9 trees, and a Gale Force 9, I think it's called the Tree of Woe, which is the tower with the tree in it, and we're using that as a building. Also have a little tiny bit of a marsh that I made with my Nurgle army last year.
And you can see there behind the building is where I set up my herdstone. That's pretty much it. So I had to deploy first as I won the wall. I deployed my bunker a little bit to the right of the building and the herdstone, thinking, I'd eventually get my mages in there and keep them within 6 inches of the herdstone to generate this power dice.
Yeah, I put down a Spirit Host just because I knew he could go through the marsh unimpeded.
I put out a Razorgore right around there to just get in the way, redirect stuff, maybe get a lucky charge on a mage if I got positioning correct.
I threw down my Fellbats. Again, I didn't really know how I was going to deploy, so I just put them there because I knew that I wouldn't really want anything behind that marsh.
I threw my Harpies in the same general vicinity for pretty much the same reason as the Razorgore.
And I have some dogs down there that are just planning to move forward and hold up if he puts his Minotaurs or his Bestigor there.
You actually see 2 deployments here. There's my Warhounds in the front with the Minotaurs behind them. The idea here is, hopefully, what I'm trying to do is throw the dogs in front of the Minotaurs about 11 to 12 inches and make it so Matt has the choice between either standing right in front of the dogs for a turn and doing nothing, which is great for me because then he's not killing anything, or if he charges the dogs, he's then left in the predicament of, do I try to overrun and get the 11 to hit the Minotaurs, which probably won't get, or do I stand there and give the Minotaurs an 11-inch charge on me and then I get charged? So hopefully I'm trying to trap him into getting a charge with those Minotaurs.
I threw down another unit of Fellbats. I don't know. I didn't feel like 2 Fellbats were strong enough in this matchup. I kept thinking to myself, like, what are these going to do other than redirect?
What would 3 do other than redirect?
Well, I think 3 can take on the dogs, at least, or the Harpies.
5 Chaos Warhounds, real terror. I also threw another Razorgore over by the dogs just to get in the way.
And I threw down some more Fellbats to literally get in the way and die.
Finally got to some real meaty deployments. I got my Horde of Gores over there. Reason being, the Doom Bull is obviously going to go with the Minotaurs there, and it's pretty much set up so that the Doom Bull and the BSB will then be within 12 inches of each other, as they both really need to. Well, the Doom Bull doesn't really need to give leadership to the unit as much, but the Doom Bull does really need the BSB reroll from the battle standard, so that way he can just go into a unit and hold it up by himself if he needs to.
I threw down my zombies in those woods because I wanted to be far away from his gores. But in retrospect, I think I could have done with putting them behind that marsh, and I think that would have been pretty safe there as well.
I put out a chariot right next to the gores just to hopefully add some combat support. Matt ended up putting out these ghouls right after, but I kind of figured they were going to go there, so I figured the ghouls needed help to fight that unit. They couldn't really fight them heads up, so Chariot definitely could sway that combat in my favor, or at least make it a lot closer.
Yeah, I thought the ghouls were a pretty damn good counter for the gores, and if you had failed either your leadership or your leadership on the fear or your leadership on the hatred, then I'd win the combat. If you made both of them, I'd be screwed, but it's not often that you're going to make two leadership aids.
2 leadership aids available?
True.
And I put another chariot on the other side, just in case something happened to the first chariot.
Yeah, and I've got my terror guys down, who namely is someone who can happen to chariots. That's why I put him down.
And I put the chariot on the other side there.
And I placed my knights, and at this point I've dedicated everything other than my characters.
My next deployment is just another Razor Gore.
And I'm dropping my characters. I put down my level 3 on my left-hand side of the zombies, and my level 1 Vamp with the bound fiery rod on the other side of the zombies. I split them on either side to mitigate potential miscast blow-ups, and also to make it so that if he sent in a Razor Gore, he couldn't get both my casters on one turn. He'd have to choose one or the other. You know, I'm kind of screwed either way if that happens, but at least he wouldn't be able to reform into my other caster. And in my big block of cavalry, I put my white in the center with that red flag, the level 1 Vamp next to him, and then my Lord next to him. I kept my Lord 2 spaces away from the white, just in case I get hit with some flaming. I'd still be able to use my 2-up ward save and not have to re-roll it. And I finally put my Karnwraith in with the ghouls, who's just meant to go after those gores and make it so that he can't die.
My characters went pretty much as I described already. The BSB went in the big gore unit. The Minotaur Lord goes to the Minotaurs. And in the back there, you'll see my 3 mages form themselves into a unit back on the board edge. The idea being here is they are safe from any sort of death sniping he could do first turn. At least he'd have to move up all the way in front of my army to do it, which would be risking him getting countercharged. And then I can also jump into my bunker first turn.
Alright, so here's their deployments, and we're ready to go. Roll off, and because Travis was deploying after I was, I got to get +1 to my roll, and I won the roll. So, for first turn, I moved everything forward, basically. I moved my knights the full distance. I think I moved them a little too far because, you know, I wasn't thinking that the dogs would be able to get that charge off versus the spirit hosts.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I should have had the spirit host a little further back than that, but that's all right. I moved up my zombies just so that I'd have range for my spell casting first turn. And spell casting was pretty damn good phase. I rolled 7 dice, which was less than great, but I'm sorry.
You rolled 9 dice.
I rolled 9 dice and 1 channel, so I had
which was great.
Yeah, that was great. I threw 6 dice at Spirit Leech and pulled out his BSB, which was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, the miscast then did a wound to each of my other characters, and also killed 2 of my knights. So that wasn't great. Points wise, you know, you got half the points of the VSB off of me from that. And
No,
I lost 1 dice from the pool, which left me with 3 to throw at something that got dispelled anyway.
I do not get half points. There's no half points for characters in ETC.
Oh, I know, but
yeah, that spell really hurt me. I have a leadership-based army versus death magic vampires. Losing my VSB first turn was not good, and because of this, I knew I probably needed to take a little bit of a risk first turn. And after doing some measurements, you know, I saw that there was a risk right there, willing to be taken. So basically what I did here is, as you see from the charge arrows, is I declared a charge of my warhounds at one of the spirit hosts. I believe they needed a 7 on the wall to get there, so pretty good odds with Swift Stride. And after they moved out of the way, I'm able to get my Minotaurs through at his Black Knight unit, and also the Chariot on the far side also had range to get there. So I declared all these charges, made the rolls. I think I need a 7, a 5, and something else. Made them all. So I got the hounds out in the spirit host. You know, nothing's gonna happen there. The dogs are gonna die, but it doesn't matter. They get out of the way. And then, but I do get, you know, my Minotaur unit with the Doom Bolt and the Chariot into the Black Knights. Good things could happen. Bad things could happen. But it could
yeah, I only had those spirit hosts. There was no benefit to having them that far forward. I don't know what I was thinking. You know, it's my first game with this army, and I just kind of, I was playing the typical first game mentality of push it forward.
Also at this point, I realized that I kind of messed up my deployment with my bunker. I really should have put them completely behind that house, so they were shielded from the Terrorgeist. When I was deploying, I was just kind of thinking, oh, he has no shooting, so I can keep my mages out of the unit if I need to. And then I would, oh yeah, that big giant Terrorgeist monster thing, pretty good shooting attack. So as you can see, I had to jump my characters into a unit for fear of that Terrorgeist scream. I was able to make it so that if the Terrorgeist charged, he wouldn't be able to get in contact with any of the mages, since they're a different base size. They hang off to the side, and they would be blocked by the building. Another mistake here I made that really was inexcusable was I really should have left it to the Bestigors to be able to countercharge the Terrorgeist when it charged the Ungors. I just looked at them. I saw, oh my god, 2 Necromancers right in front of my Bestigors. Nothing to slow them down except 1 unit of dogs. Just run them forward and kill it. And I got a little bit too greedy there. But, you know, I figured I do have the Chariot there, and I do also, you know, have Ambush Spear. Something good could happen. I got Steadfast versus that Terrorgeist for a while, you know. I'll hopefully be able to hold it off for long enough that I can survive. Magic phase. Well, so every magic phase I generate.
Well, we should clarify here. I'm using Bragging Rights dice, and the red ones are my Cold Steel's Mercs dice. All of these are Chessex custom dice, which have the 6s replaced with a symbol.
Which means they always roll 6s.
Yes, and before this game, I offered Travis my lucky bag of Lord of the Rings dice, which were given to every player at the U.S. Throne of Skulls tournament.
By offered, he means forced to use.
Yeah, and I remembered from experience at the Throne of Skulls that anyone who was dumb enough to use these dice lost every last one of their games, because these things roll that Tree of Isildur every other roll. And that's a 1.
Yeah. The most painful part of all this is myself, as well as most other people, are used to icons being 6s.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw them, I was always excited, and then I realized, oh, no, I shouldn't be excited. So it was just demoralizing. Anyway, for Magic, I rolled 6 dice, 4 and a 2, and as I have the Hearthstone, I automatically generate 3 extra dice. So I'm thinking, I got 9 dice to his 4. This would be a pretty good fate. I should be able to get at least 1 spell off, maybe 2. Or if I get 1 off, he'll at least have to use a scroll, and I'll still get 1 off. So, plan here was just roll 3 Wissen's Wild Forms on that Minotaur unit. If I can get them to toughness 5, it'll really lower the damage output of his Lord, as well as getting my Lord to strength 7 and my Minotaur to strength 6. It would just really help versus that Knight unit. So I started off with a phenomenal roll of a 6, which does not even get the first spell off, as I need a 9, and I rolled a 6 plus 2 is only 8. So that really hurt me. The next spell, I rolled a 10 plus 2 for a 12, which he dispel scored. And the last spell, I rolled a 9 plus 2, and he just rolled all his dice and stopped it. So, pretty great magic phase, if I don't say so.
Yeah, pretty good phase. I was able to let go of that Dispel Scroll early because I knew that his spells were not huge threats.
Well, and I pretty much committed on the first turn to huge combat.
True.
So, we got to the combat. We rolled in there, and basically, by the end of the combat, I had killed 4, I believe. Yeah, it looks like 4 Black Knights.
3 Black Knights. 2 Black Knights. 2 were already dead from my own misfortune.
Okay.
Oh, 3. Sorry. Yes, 3. 3 Black Knights. Yeah.
And I took 5 total wounds back with the Minotaurs. This could have gone better. It also could have gone worse.
Yes.
The big issue here was that I didn't get the spells off, and also because of the way I was positioned with my champion and my Doom Bolt, which I didn't have any control over based on the way I charged, I had to accept his champ challenge with my Minotaur Lord, and basically wasted a couple extra wounds. But I figured I'm stubborn, so my Minotaur unit did hold on the elusive 7, which was -1 because that R.Majesty. However, the chariot, which by the way I don't think even did a wound.
No, that chariot was terrible.
The chariot decided he didn't want to play anymore and said, "Screw you guys, I'm going home."
Armor save 2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
And in the Spirit Host combat, nothing happened as a... I think I was supposed to take a wound, but my BSB kept me from having to take that wound. So it was just a wash. In my turn, I had a lot of charges to declare. I declared a charge on the big Ungor bunker with my Terror guys because I thought, if I can get these guys to fail their break check, they are steadfast, but it's only steadfast on a 7, and it's no reroll. So if I can get them to fail that, this game over. I then charged my Spirit Host at that fleeing chariot, which takes him off the board, and I redirected successfully into a Tuskor who's behind the Minotaurs. Terrorgeist makes it in, my Spirit Host makes it in, and I'm all good to go.
You also charged your ghouls too.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. The ghouls also hit the dogs because I was...
Devastation.
Yeah, I just wanted to get them out of the way. I didn't want there to be a chance for them to live another turn. For the rest of my movement, I moved up my Fell Bats to block off the Bestigors from being able to go anywhere and threaten me. And I formed up the dogs to be a counter to the Tuskor, because I thought 6 dogs would be attacking at strength 4. I thought that'd be enough to scare away Razor Gore.
You're not strength 4 if I charge you though.
True, I didn't think you were going to charge me. For the magic phase, I roll a big phase, very excited. I start out with the bound spell, it gets dispelled. I followed up with Spirit Leech, it gets dispelled. I follow that up with Doom and Darkness, it gets dispelled. With a scroll. And finally, I rolled Raise Dead and got myself 11 new zombies. I ended up placing them because I figured those Ungors would not flee this turn, so I just thought the next turn I'd want a charge and a flank bonus, just to add on top of what I already had. I'm not sure if this was the best place to put them in retrospect. Maybe it would have been better to put them over and block up the best scores, but this isn't a terrible spot for them. I also was able to heal a wound off my Vampire Lord by doing this. In the Scream phase, I can pull off 2 Ungors. I didn't roll too great, but I did actually kill off a Minotaur with the Scream from Scrath, because I'm up to 3 wounds on my Vampire Lord now, so it's 2d6 plus 3. And he's at -1 leadership. Had I got off the Doom and Darkness, it would have finished off his Minotaur unit and put his Minotaur Lord in some serious trouble. Yeah. In the close combat phase, I remove the Tuskor with my Spirit Hosts. Spirit Hosts are obviously overpowered. Everyone knows that.
Please nerf.
Yeah, exactly. All the dogs die to my other Spirit Host unit.
Real shocker.
Yeah. And finally, my Terrorgeist is able to pull off a whomping 6 guys between his 4 attacks and his immense Thunderstomp. It's not enough to make him run, but he is getting a little bit low now. I do take 2 wounds, which is really unfortunate because I'm feeling really afraid of that chariot coming in next turn.
One interesting note here. Unfortunately for me, something I didn't really think about is I wasn't able to make way with those characters. Point being because one of them has Transformation of Kadan, which could have potentially bailed me out of this situation if I got it off. And the different base size thing, it really, I mean, I understand the rule. I just don't understand why Beastmen have to have different base sizes amongst their own army. It probably is one of the, in my opinion, one of the biggest detriments to the current Beastmen army that Ungor on smaller bases than everything else.
It's funny because being on a smaller base is such an advantage, but in the case of the heroes, it's such a disadvantage.
Being on a smaller base is an advantage, but being on a different base.
Right, yes.
It doesn't matter that they're smaller, it matters that they're different.
Well, what you could have done, what you didn't do, was combat reform. And you would have been able to do that at your base leadership because you were steadfast.
The problem with that is I have to commit to it beforehand. If I then don't get the spell off,
yeah, true.
If I don't get the spell off, then I just lose my mage. Whereas with a make way, I can get the spell off and then be like, oh, combat phase. Now I'm a black dragon. Now I make way.
Well,
that's the big difference.
You know, yeah. So we got one more combat. And
shit went down.
You declared a challenge. I accepted with my lord. He's on full wounds. I figured odds are he's going to take 1 or 2, no problem. And then my opponent, weak little Travis, is going to run away.
His opponent decided to slay him, and the vampire lord was dead.
Yeah, I think I got 1 wound on your lord, which gave you a couple attacks back at me.
1 attack. You did 2, and I think I got 2 attacks back.
Yeah, and then you were able to finish me off with 3 lucky armor fails.
When Matt says armor fails, he means -4 save failures, which.
Yeah, well, I got a 1 up. Come on, Jesus. Yeah. I gotta make. I should have made 1 of those. I didn't though. He lost the combat, but at the end of the phase, I had to crumble. Crumble felt really bad to me, but afterwards when I looked on it, it wasn't that bad.
Wasn't.
Terrorgeist lives, barely. I lose 2 units of fell bats. I lose all my dogs, and that was about it. A couple zombies, something like that.
Yeah, it really wasn't too bad, and that's the big difference between the new vampire counts and the old vampire counts. If this was the old book and you lost your vampire lord in the top of turn 2, you would have reached out your hand and conceded.
Oh, definitely.
But now, I mean, you only have to take 1 crumble check unless your other vampire caster dies. So, I mean, 1 crumble check, what would you lose here? About 85 victory points, maybe? No, 48, like 140
plus
or something.
Plus the vampire lord, plus
the
general.
But in addition, you lost like 140 victory points from crumbling.
Yeah.
Not a huge deal. Would have been a game over in the old book.
Definitely.
So, anyway, charge to my turn, 2. And I got a couple charges. I charged a chariot in the flank of the Terrorgeist, which is now sitting on just 1 wound after that crumble check. And thinking, D6 strength 5, finish that thing off before the combat starts, bail myself out of the mistake I made earlier by letting that thing run straight into my mages. That'd be great. And the bat sitting in front of my gores did not need to stay there anymore, so.
Yeah, some of you might look at this and think that the gores are going to go straight at the front of the bat, but the way I positioned the bat was such that most of his horde was in my flank. So when he hits me, he's going to do a very large freewheel, and when he closes the door, he's going to move a full 90 degrees, and he's going to be fully in my flank.
My Razor Gore does not rally. It runs off the board. Sad times. Magic Phase. This one did go slightly better than the last one. Trying to figure out how this went here.
You got 2 Wisson's wild
Yeah,
forms.
if I remember, it looks like I get 2 Whiston wild forms off on my Doom Bull, making him now strength 8 and toughness 7. Pretty much guaranteeing that A, he can't get hurt, and B, Matt's not going to get any armor stage versus his attacks.
Yeah, and on the other casting of Wisson's wild form, I'm able to dispel it. We usually don't play matchups on the show that use the same spell too many times, so are not used to having the same spell spammed. I think I'm going to buy a couple extra sets of the magic cards.
I had it on the set. I should have bought them out. So, anyway, we get to this combat. Matt declares a challenge with his level 1 vampire, for the sole purpose being that way I can't kill anything more than just him, and he's sitting on 1 wound anyway, so he's gonna drop. I destroy him. I think I do 2 or 3 wounds to him, but unfortunately Matt still has 2 banners and a musician, so he wins the combat. I guess I did. Yeah, it was 2 wounds. I did 2. You won on musician. So I need to take a leadership 8 stubborn check, and I failed it. Woohoo! Sad times. And he caught me. So the Minotaur unit, which valiantly killed his vampire lord, is now dead on its own right. Bottom of turn 2. But all in all, I think the trade probably a little bit better for me. I lost a lot of points. You lost a lot of points, but you lost a lot of utility too.
Yeah.
You can no longer march with anything. If I do kill your other vampire, then you're crumbling bad, so.
Yeah. I overran and just stopped an inch away from my spirit host, which puts my knights in a pretty bad position.
So, we go to the Terrorgeist combat. I roll in. I do, I think, 3 or 4 impact hits, roll a wound. I tell Matt to take the Terrorgeist off, and he says, "Hold on a second, I have a 6+ regen," and he proceeds to push it right in my face and roll a 6 on his cheater Cold Steel Merc dice.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm thinking, that sucks, but I still got 2 strength 4, a strength 6, another strength 4, and then all those strength 3 attacks. I just gotta get 1 wound through. No big deal. Well, I fail every fear check.
Yep. And
I fail every primal fury check.
Yeah.
And as you can see in this picture, I did get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 hits, it looks like, with my own gores. And, figured 9 dice, 1, 6, not too hard. But
no.
Apparently today it was a little bit too hard. And the Terrorgeist lives. It was not the greatest.
Not only did the Terrorgeist live, the Terrorgeist won the combat like a fucking champ. And, that chariot gone. Unfortunately, the important unit, the casters, stayed where they were.
Oh man, real sad times.
Yeah, and when this happened, we had a 6-inch trigger. Everything nearby had to take a flee check, and I think just the pig failed his fear.
Yeah, the harpies passed.
Failed his panic and moved through that unit of Vestigors, who, luckily for you, made their check.
Yeah, it would have been okay.
Yeah, right.
It would have been fine. They would have just rallied.
All right, on my turn, my ghouls charge in against that big old Razor Gore, and my spirit hosts go against him as well. My knights declare charge against goddamn something.
Oh no, I remember. This was actually a pretty complicated situation. So I had it set up basically. I put the pig right in front of the ghouls, and I put my gores behind it. And the thought here being is you would kill the pig, obviously, and you would overrun into the gores. And then when you overrun into the gores, I'd be able to countercharge with the chariot because you wouldn't be able to fight the combat until my turn.
Oh,
so yes. I would have the chariot in your flank, which I think I can fight you to the face with the chariot in the flank. I don't think I can fight you straight up. If you get to fight, I think you can break me on the charge. But because because my Minotaur Lord broke, you had your Black Knights out of combat. So what you did very smartly was declare a charge with your White King out of the unit into the flank of my Gors, so that after the ghouls killed the Razor Gore, they could overrun into the Gors and do a cascading combat where you get to fight it in your turn. Well, you'll probably win the combat, break me, and I wouldn't even get a chance at that chariot in the flank.
More than a cascading combat. It is a combat where I have +1 for the charge, +1 for BSB, +1 for flank.
Oh yeah, you'd win the combat
Plus,
easily.
I'm going to have more ranks than you, so you're not going to be steadfast. That would have been beautiful. It would have been game over. But you fled, and you, luckily for you, had that chariot there to make it so that I wouldn't be able to catch up for you.
Luckily or wisely, depending on how you want to look at it.
Come on.
I saw this coming, fled, was able to pop through the chariot because he did have that one fell bat with one wound left that somehow didn't crumble on its leadership 4 or whatever, and he was able to declare the charge to make me run again. But since I popped through that chariot, I was so far away that he couldn't actually catch me, and the ghoul unit got away. Way in the back.
Yep. So with the charge resolutions, I've got the ghouls at a right angle because, again, Travis used the same trick that I use, where you put a unit directly in front of a big horde, but that horde has to go up against your flank side. The Bat and the White King failed their charges, unfortunately. And with the zombies, I'm able to do kind of a, I don't know if it's cheeky or not, but doing a kind of a tricky reform where I'm putting my musician and banner bearer up front so that if he does charge with the best score, he can't take on my casters. While I was doing this, I was thinking to myself, I think more along the lines of the way a demon plays, where if you lose a combat, big deal. You might lose a couple models. I kind of forgot exactly how Crumble works, and best case scenario, I'm looking at losing 10 fucking models out of this and making so my casters can't get out of there. What I really should have done right now is
drop your characters out.
Yeah, do a reform. Fine, reform.
Sack the zombies, save the characters.
Sack the zombies, save the characters. Get them the fuck out of there. Move them anywhere. It does not matter where.
Pretty much anywhere else actually would have been good.
Anywhere else. The Harpies.
Other than directly in front of the best scores.
Right. The Harpies would have been an issue. I would have needed to place myself so that the Harpies couldn't land. But as long as I'm within an inch of the zombies, Harpies can't get me.
That's not true.
Depending on my facing. But unfortunately, I didn't think of it, and I was kind of in demon mode. My Knights just moved up because they're planning on contributing to that combat with the Terrorgeist, who I'm expecting is going to die this turn. But
ho-ho.
We'll see. In the magic phase, apparently nothing happened. We don't have.
Didn't even take pictures.
We don't even have a picture. We do have a dispel scroll in the middle of the table,
which couldn't have even been used because I already used it.
I got no idea what happened in the magic phase. I really hope, for my sake, that we didn't just plain skip it.
I don't think you skipped it.
But anyways, in the combat phase, the ghouls obviously are able to remove that test score. For a minute, he was going to make me roll all the dice, and I rolled the first 8.
Didn't make you roll all the dice. You just...
I rolled the first 8 and killed him.
Whatever. His toughest 5. He doesn't.
And the Terrorgeist, happy times. It gets rid of that Ungor unit. Very happy times.
Oh, you forgot to mention you chose those zombies in the rear of that unit, too.
Oh, yes, I did forget to mention that. Zombies hit the rear of the unit. We did have a little bit of a rules debate. I'll go back to the picture where the charge was declared for a moment. The zombies are, if you look at the entire unit as one whole, they are in the rear of the unit. If you only use the Ungors themselves to determine which facing, then the zombies are kind of actually I still think they're in the rear, but it's a little bit closer to a flank.
Probably flank there.
We weren't really positive of what to play here. If you can imagine the Ungors being a full 30 strong, then obviously I'd be in the flank. But with the characters out to the side there and the way that flanks are determined, I think they might have been the rear. It's hard to tell what GW intended with this.
We probably should have looked this up after the game. There may be something in the character section, but I don't know. I mean, it's really weird because, like Matt said, the unit. I mean, I think if you go by where the Ungos are, they're definitely in the flank. But I mean, it's just an awkward situation. Do you use the Ungos? Do you use the characters? We really weren't sure. Me being the nice person that I am, I let Matt have the rear charge.
Oh yeah, real nice person. Well, anyways, I was able to kill all of the Ungors, and you know, he rolled a 10 on the flea. We measured it. It looked like just about 10. So he put his guys on the table edge, and I wasn't able to roll a 10 on either of my units.
It was very close on whether I went off. Did we D6 it, or did we just say?
I think we just said they were on the 10.
It was really close. Like I said, whether or not they went off the board, I think we determined that they barely stayed on. So
this does put my guys in a pretty bad position, especially since crumbles are happening.
Well, they're not happening yet.
Wow, yeah, true.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler alert. All right, and
So-
I passed the turn.
So to that spoiler, my Bestigors charge those zombies with the 2 necromancers in it. Because he's only 2 wide, I'm not going to be able to kill him on the charge, but he also has no long-term plan here because he's not getting out of that combat and he's not going to kill me. So I figured he might live a couple turns, but he's done eventually.
In retrospect, really should have that Terrorgeist or the zombies or something do a combat read for him, so I was looking at those Bestigors.
In the Miracle of the Century, every single one of my fleeing units rallied.
So we got a Razor Gore.
Razor Gore, the Chariot, the Mages on the board edge, the Gores on the board edge, and I guess that was it.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on here because I don't think I even had a remaining move phase. Oh, yes, the Harpies. They flew over there to next turn charge that unit and just make sure it died quicker. Magic phase saw me become a very sad panda when I realized that I could not cast Transformation of Kadan because it puts you on a bigger base and it would have forced me off the table. So I couldn't
get shit on.
Yeah, it was, I was all excited. I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to turn myself into a dragon. My mage will kill that Terrorgeist when it comes in.
Well, you could have killed me with your breath weapon.
I could have killed you with 7,000 different things.
You could have killed all the zombies and breath weapon killed my
I could have pretty much tabled Matt with just that model. But, yes, as we mentioned, I was directly on the board edge. And since the dragon's on a 50mm base, it wouldn't fit there, so I wasn't able to cast the spell. So I had this great plan that, no big deal, I'll just Amber Spirit. I get the spell off, hit it with a Strength 10 hit, and those sweet dice decided they said big old fuck you, Travis.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings dice, dude. Don't buy them.
Rolled a 1, and
only use them for leadership checks.
There were only a few tears. I wasn't full out crying, but I was definitely pretty sad.
And you got Whistle's wild form off on something.
On the mages.
On the mages, okay.
In hopes that maybe I could. I mean, I would have 3 strike 4 or 5 attack. I don't know. I was in desperation mode at that point. Nothing else needed Whistle's wild form. The best coach was how they needed most zombies. Which gets us to that combat. I charge in, kill a bunch of zombies. Well, it looks like about 9 there.
Yeah, you actually got 11 total.
Oh.
I think you got 3 kills and then 8 overkill from charge, banner, 3 ranks, and 3 kills. No, sorry, you must have killed 3 then and got 7 overkill.
I believe the term here is get shit on.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and at this point I'm really realizing what Crumble's like. I've actually never played an undead army in my Warhammer history.
So, I believe this was your turn.
Yeah, I declare a long charge of my knights, which I'm not sure that Travis saw against my wizards. Not that you could have done anything about it.
It was one of those things that I didn't... I guess I didn't see it, but yeah, there was nothing I could have done. I rallied right there.
Yeah, I've only got 16 inches to go, so I only need to roll a 7. And
you were barely in the flank, too. Like, you were almost in the front, I think, and then you might not be able to make it. But, I mean, regardless, I knew I was in bad shape. I'm sitting in front of a Terrorgeist. Can't move. Things weren't looking good for them.
Yeah, the Terrorgeist would have had a hard time charging.
I think you might have been able to clip it. It would have been close.
Yeah,
Would have been close.
It's tough. It's one of those rules things because when I do the free close the door, would I still be flying or would I be on the ground at that point?
Yeah.
Because if I can do the free close the door, then I can certainly
Yeah.
make this charge. But it's one of those rules things which GW didn't really address, unfortunately. I wish they would.
Regardless, you made the charge with your knights and
Yeah.
didn't really matter.
I also charged the Harpies with my Spirit Host, just thinking that maybe I can bail out these zombies somehow.
At least delay the inevitable.
Yeah, or at
That's
least
the better
delay
term,
the
I think.
inevitable. I unfortunately failed that charge, but I made the important charge against the mages and moved my Terrorgeist to face the chariot, and I am just basically hoping to put enough wounds on it when I scream so that it's not a threat. I also moved my BSB a little bit towards combat, jumped a Spirit Host out of the building, which he's been in for the past turn, and moved one of my Fell Bats over into useless land. I didn't move my zombies because really I didn't have the chance to. There's nothing I could have done. Had I reformed, I wouldn't be able to move again because they don't have a musician, and they can't actually move anywhere because they're blocked in by the inch rule on all sides. In the magic phase, I threw a bunch of dice at Doom and Darkness on the Bestigor, and really the only reason I threw these 3 dice is I was hoping he was going to try to dispel it. The only thing I really wanted to get off was Invocation, and even with all those dice I threw at it, it still got dispelled. It was the only spell I cared about. I threw my final dice at I think
Spirit Leech.
Is it a Spirit Leech?
You shot Spirit Leech.
Oh.
The Tuskor.
Yeah, you're right. Tried to throw a Spirit Leech. I needed to roll
a 4.
A 4 and got a 3.
Yeah, I figured Doom and Darkness. I mean, even Web Score 1 isn't a big deal with zombies because they're only 1, and I have enough combat wins. I don't even need to do wounds.
Yeah, in the close combat phase, I rolled in. I've got 2 attacks from my knights, 2 hits, and one of them's a killing blow. Killed at level 2. So I'm already up 5 on combat res, and you're not stubborn. So you're rolling on 2s, which you of course don't make, and I'm able to catch you. So that unit's gone, which feels pretty damn good. But the other combat swings it the other way because after crumbles, I'm left with barely anything in that zombie unit, and my 2 casters definitely know that the end is near.
Yeah. So basically, pretty much by the end of next turn, it's guaranteed that none of us are gonna have any mages left.
Yeah. True.
So the start of my turn, I was left with an interesting decision here. It's a foregone 100% conclusion that his last 2 mages are going to die, and he will start crumbling every turn. So my thinking was that Terrorgeist is leadership 4. It's going to be crumbling. Granted, it is by the BSB, so it does get to reroll and take 1 less, but it's on 1 wound and will have to crumble. I pretty much banked on it dying. It's basically taking a leadership 5 rerollable check, but if it fails, it's dead. So my plan here was to charge that bottom chariot into the zombies, which I will easily destroy, and overrun in those last couple of remaining Black Knights. The idea being here is that if I don't do this, I'm pretty much looking at the board. There actually is basically no possible way I kill those Knights, other than right now. They'll be able to just turn around, run away. I can't catch them. They're worth a lot of points, and this is a pretty decent chance to get them. Whereas, the Terrorgeist should die. It really should. It also should already be dead, but we won't get into that. So I decided to take this chance. I think I needed an 8 or a 9 on my Swift Stride charge. I didn't make it, so that was sad. I also charged the Harpies into the flank of the mages just to 100% guarantee that they die, which 100% did guarantee that they died. So now he's down to no mages. He is crumbling every turn, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's got crappy leadership. And really, I can just stand there and watch him crumble and win the game. is what I'm hoping for at this point.
Yeah, and when he killed my remaining Vamp guy, he told me to take a crumble check, and we looked it up in the rule books, and it says when the general dies, you take an immediate crumble at the end of the phase.
You take one at the start of the next turn.
Yeah, otherwise you take it at the start of the next turn. So at the start of the next turn, I took him, and lucky for me, my Terrorgeist lived. I don't even know if I took any wounds. What did I take?
If you took a
Spirit Host wound.
Oh yeah, this turn. Yeah, I don't think you did. I think you made.
Out of all my crumbles on the next turn, all I took was one Spirit Host. I declared a charge with my Terrorgeist on that little chariot. I'm not even sure if he ever made a flee charge. I think at that point I was just too excited.
I think he made it.
I made the charge obviously with movement 10, and I reformed my knights because I was hoping they were going to reform and then be able to do a swift reform. All they needed to do was make their leadership, and then they could have moved forward far enough for the BSB to join their unit. The thinking behind this was just to make absolutely positive that I didn't lose that unit, because if he's with the unit, they're on a leadership 9 rerollable. Not only does that keep that unit safe, it makes it so that he can't die, because
he doesn't crumble. Characters don't crumble.
Oh, he doesn't. Well, in my mind, they were crumbling.
Well, I mean, you only had one more crumble check to take at this point, and you can't fail a leadership 9 by more than 5.
Yeah.
So
well,
they guarantee couldn't.
Luckily, my Spirit Host didn't die either from the crumble, so I was able to put him in front of the best scores and make sure that they didn't contact my BSB or my Knights. In the shooting phase, I'm able to scream off the chariot, and at this point, the game's pretty much over. He's got one charge left on my Spirit Host, and he just needs to rally his Harpies, and otherwise, it's over.
Yep. Last turn, your Spirit Host does finally crumble.
Yeah,
as it should have 7 turns before.
Last turn, I have to take one last crumble check. I'm crossing my fingers. What can I hope for? Of course, the Terrorgeist isn't going to live. He dies. I lose one knight and a few meaningless models. I do lose the unit of zombies, but I don't think they're worth victory points anymore.
Nope, they're not.
Yeah, so that was no big deal. And on your last turn, you were able to rally the units that were left. So I extended the hand, and this is game over. And after adding up the points, it was, I believe, 153-point victory to the Vampires.
Yes.
Yep, 153 points. That's pretty good. That puts us at 11-9, which is not stunning and not great. And with Beastmen, I think you did a pretty good job against Vampires. The fact that I don't know the book really hurt me.
Or Warhammer.
Yeah, or Warhammer. There's a lot I could have done differently there, starting with basic list creation. But
you were limited by the models that we had, so.
True. First turn, extending that Black Knight unit as far as I did was a major mistake. I should have been more cautious. As I was playing, I was thinking to myself, I was like, how would Larry play? What would Larry do?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever find yourself saying that, you need to reevaluate your life.
Yeah, possibly. So, what do you think of the Beastmen ETC restrictions?
Well, USA was one of 2 countries to actually take Beastmen last year. It was us in Italy, and our Beastmen player, Mr. Jordan Braun, actually was the highest-scoring Beastmen player there, first out of 2. And
wow,
his list actually performed very well for it. I won't say very. It performed well for us. It definitely threw people for a loop. They weren't used to playing it, and it just had some potential to go well. And this year they got a little bit better. They're allowed to have an extra 3 power dice now from the Herdstone instead of just 2, which didn't sound like a lot, but an extra power dice every turn in an army that really does revolve around its magic. That's the only. If it wasn't for magic, no one would ever play Beastmen. That's the only thing they got going for them is good magic.
Ambushing, dude, ambush.
Yeah, like I said, just magic. It really. I think they could be strong this year. I don't know. Unfortunately, it's one of those niche armies that you really just have to have someone that plays them. I actually tried to play Beastmen last year using the same list Jordan did, and I just got tabled every time I played it. Just couldn't get it to work. Whereas Jordan Jordan took it to a couple tournaments in the U.S. and I think he won a best general and a couple awards with it. You know, it's one of those armies that not everyone can play it. So we're definitely considering it, and by we I mean me, as an option. I don't know how everyone else feels, but it certainly has potential. The extra 200 points really is crucial. It wouldn't work without that.
Yeah, I mean 2,600 versus 2,400 is pretty nice boost to begin with, and then when you take the victory points and you give 10% less victory points.
It doesn't sound like much, but it really is. It really is nice. Like I said, I would have lost by another 150 points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's.
Yeah,
it's
we
good.
would have been talking about a 300-point loss, over a 300-point loss, had we not had that 10% factored in.
Yeah, and Beastmen also, they have access to a lot of cool. There's a lot of cool little things you can do. I mean, Hag Tree Fetish plus Vile Tide. A lot of people underestimate 5d6 strength 1, but when you get to reroll all those fail to wounds, it does some damage.
Becomes a 33% chance to wound.
Yeah, basically.
Roughly.
Not exactly, but close. Yeah, and summoning a Gorgon that comes up on a table edge and is worth 0 victory points. I mean, your opponent's got to deal with it, but like I said, 0 victory points.
Yeah, and it takes your level 4 out of dispelling.
Well, Jordan almost had 2 level 4s. So
well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And what do you think of the vampire restrictions? Where do you think they're going to go?
They'll limit ethereals, hopefully to, I guess 3. I almost want to say 2, but I guess that'd be a little too much. I guess 3 total units / characters with the ethereal special rule. Terror guys should be 0/1. If they're not, we're
including the Mount Terror guys?
I think so. If they're not, then you'll see America with a million Terror Geist.
Yeah. It's a very American
they're
list.
broken to shit. What else? Those are the main things. Nothing else that strikes me as broken.
Dice.
You can't get. I mean, what dice do you get? You
Black Periaft.
He only gives you 2, which is limited anyway.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I can see the bound item being worth 1.
Oh, no, because you should roll dice at it. Bound spell won't be worth dice. They'll put limits on all the chaff units, I think. Just being able to take 3 units of 2 Feral Bats, 3 single Bat Swarms, 3 units of Dire Wolves, 3 units of minimum zombies. There's another one I'm missing, I think. Just all those little units that are just with no points, they just get in the way, is so good in the points now setting.
Well, you just use your spells or a big block to take points and your terror guys. You just give up your chaff. You just give up your chaff and spam death magic. I mean, you have leadership 10 death magic. You don't need anything else. Yeah, definitely. Leadership 10 death magic was awesome in our game. We did play. Now that I'm looking at it, a little off ETC restrictions. We used 6 dice for spells. Oh yeah, we did. Well, excuse me, you did. Yeah, I did twice. Oh, thinking back, yeah. Oh yeah, well, you killed my BSB first turn with an illegal spell. Oh well. Yeah. Well, in ETC, you're supposed to only use a limit of 5 dice, and there's been some talk of lifting that restriction completely. There's also been, I think, an equal amount of talk of changing it to 4 dice. There's been more going towards 4. I don't feel good about 4 dice. I don't like 4. I like 5. 4 dice make some spells uncastable. They're all saying the reason they want to change it is because they don't want people to be able to get spells like Mind Razor and Big versus Dwellers Below off reliable. To me, that's not the issue. The issue to me is getting the Irresistible Force. I don't mind that you can get Mind Razor off. Yeah, exactly. I mind that you can Irresistible Force the Mind Razor. I mean, I can save a Dispel Scroll for the turn that you need Mind Razor, but that doesn't do shit if you roll 2 6s. That's true. And the probability of double 6s on 6 dice is about 25%. I've been meaning to look this up, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot smaller with 5 dice, somewhere like 15% maybe. Don't quote me on that, but that's a big difference to me. Like that's the issue with the dice cap, is the IFing spells. So I think 5's good. I don't want to see 4. I really wouldn't be upset if it was.
but I would vote for 5 for my vote. It doesn't actually matter, but
Yeah, I think 5's fine. The Dark Elves throwing 7 or 8 at a spell, that obviously needs to stop.
broken.
But 5's fine. Well, all right. That does it for this week's episode. Thanks for coming, Travis, and hope to have you on the show again.
It's gonna cost you.
All right.